Hello, my Eggy peeps. Welcome to episode 2. Thanks for tuning into the first one. I'm here with my friend Fluff, and we're going to get right to it. We got a bunch of good things to talk about in this episode. So, Fluff, what's on your mind, buddy?
Hey, but what a great response that we've had so far. That's really what's on my mind. It's just been a thrill to see. Being able to add value as a fan is a really good feeling. And it's been really exciting. How have you felt about it?
Amazed. Yeah, I was pretty happy to see the amount of views that we got and stuff, and because and as creators, you can see who's watched it. So there was some great names on that list. So it was really good to see. Yeah. Yep. And
Yeah,
that's
nice
why
comments.
that's why we're doing episode 2, right? We got some good stuff to get into tonight. So,
Well, we always have more to talk about, like Brownstein Family Band that you were at the show last night, I believe it was.
yep. Lucky enough to out here in Albany now. Yeah.
Also, I think maybe we should talk about that poll that I ran in Green Eggs and Fam started yesterday.
Definitely. And then we got the magnets.
So I watched, the stream from was it Ardmore? I think it was.
Yeah.
And then where was the show last night that you were at? I forgot.
It was a place called Lark Hall, which was a beautifully renovated old. I don't know if it was a church or what, but it had like pews around and stuff. It might have been a church. I don't know, but it was a big open box, beautiful with like a trade ceiling and a beautiful stage, really state of the art speakers, nice bar and like a balcony area. And just a really cool venue with a ton, probably some of the most character of a building that they've played in a long time that I've seen, And it was a big stage, so they were spread out pretty far, Zach's cymbal fell off the stand a couple of times when he really wailed on it. There was a chunk missing. Yeah, there was a chunk missing from one of them at the end of the night. I'm not sure if that happened last night. I didn't notice it first, but yeah, he was wailing on those things pretty good.
I noticed when we were watching the Ardmore stream that's actually one of the smallest drum kits that I think I've ever seen anyone play on. So when you said he lost one, I'm going, what does he have left if he starts losing pieces of it?
Yeah, there's just that clamshell thing that goes pawapa wapa, So shamalama ding dong. But Jake had the purple guitar. Didn't have his Eggy strap. Had just a plain guitar strap on there. Donnie didn't have the big organ, I think it's a Hammond organ. So that wasn't there. He had that Virus T3 or whatever it is, which is insane. And, Brownie was, so it was interesting as I was watching it because like the bass is what you kind of jive and groove to and bounce around to, and Mark Brownstein is like the perfect person for that. He really had everybody bumping pretty good all night long. And so Zach, the perfect complement to those three, as a young kid. I mean, he's got as much chops as just about any drummer I've ever really seen, especially for the material that they were playing. He had, and that simple set, a very small set to be able to make all that noise, good noise. But yeah, they were in good form. Jake and Donnie were in good form as always, and this will be the second time now we've seen the Brownstein Family Band. So good times, definitely good times. Bunch of people there, I think, the people that showed up last night were either Disco Biscuits fans or Eggy fans. There weren't, I don't think, too many people that were there for as just randomly like, hey, let's go out tonight and go to this venue. It was all people that were there to, see the synergy between those guys. And it was really cool. It was really cool. Now, I've been told by very reliable sources that they're not related, but I don't believe it.
And who's not related? Jake and Mark?
Yeah.
So they're fake cousins?
I can't name my sources, but I've heard from like some very reliable sources that they're not related. Now, I just don't know if they're just denying it, but I got no reason to disbelieve, But
I was gonna say, like, I want to know what they were feeding that family growing up, that they're all turning into such outstanding musicians. I mean, they must have some secret that we don't know about. I'd like to get in on that. But
right.
No, I was actually curious, and I'm glad you brought it up because like I have always been very much of a purist. You know, I'm not that I won't go see a side act, but like, you know, I want to see the original band. That's what I got into.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't go see Trey on his own or with his different incarnations as much. Like, I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it, but it just wasn't what I wanted. And it's the same with this. Like, I want Eggy. I want all four of my guys on stage without them. But here's what I want to get to. I want to ask you, you know, what was it like seeing half of them? You said it's your second time now.
I'll
without,
tell
you know, to see two other people filling in, like you said, Mark did a great job keeping the people moving, but without Mike there, does it really feel the same?
Well, no, so it doesn't feel the same. And what it felt like to me, and I made this exact connection in my mind, was all of the times that I went and saw the Jerry Garcia band. You know, it wasn't the Grateful Dead by any stretch of the means, but man, was it! And I'm actually getting like a little tingle in my shivers and thinking about back in the day. You know, being up close to the stage with Jerry and John Kahn, and you know, Bob Ware opening up acoustic with the guy that used to play stand-up bass with him, and just like, wow, you know. And so it is different, but the energy is that, like you were saying, and I think in our last podcast, or maybe I don't know if it made it on, but Jerry is an idea, right? And so is the energy behind Jake, you know. And so to me, it felt like the same thing. It was like seeing the Jerry band. It was that vibe. It was like, okay, this isn't the core, but it's still that same like love. You know what I mean? Just in a different.
You feel like it was Jake leading them? Was Jake leading them more than anything, or were they really just kind of all together like Eggy can be? Like,
yeah, they were all together. They were definitely all together. They were definitely four friends up there on stage. It wasn't like a super group formed to sell some tickets. It was like, hey, you know, it was like you were in the cellar or in the garage with them almost. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't. It was the equipment setup was small. Everything was like, you know, minimalized. You know, and so I made that parallel. It was just like like seeing Jerry, you know, when the Dead was still touring, but Jerry was coming around. And it was just an extra special treat. You know, it was hearing Dead songs, because Jerry played Dead songs, with someone else on bass, someone else on drums, one drummer instead of two, you know. So different, still cool. Question I was fully open to and enjoyed the Disco Biscuit songs that they did. Yeah, they were great, you know, and I think Jake and Donnie really enjoyed playing them too, you know. And then they did some other covers. They did Barabba Jangle, which is like, you know, late era Van Morrison awesomeness. So that's always a great one. In fact, that song they played in the encore at the show we were talking about in the last episode, the Columbus St. Patrick's Day show. They did that in the encore, and I think Studio, and they had already done Call Me Out. I digress. That was my favorite damn show. Anyways, so last night was a really good time, and I accidentally bought tickets to see Trey with the Boston Symphony Orchestra for tonight. Otherwise, I'd be down in Park City.
I haven't had a chance to see, you know, them in person, but like I said, I watched the webcast from Ardmore. You know, I thought, I mean, yeah, there was some times where, like, if you close your eyes, you know, like they were doing it was an Eggy song, and it was just Eggy out there. So it was, you know, it was interesting for sure. But you know, most of all, I can't wait for the next real, you know, full Eggy show. That's where my focus, you know, lies. You know, stay focused on the prize.
Which reminds me, so this wasn't on our rundown sheet, but I gotta qualify something I said in the last episode, and let's make sure this gets on there. So I said I hadn't heard that level of jam like that really mind melting, you know, cohesive sound. But then they released the second set from Bonnaroo, which was the Giddy Up set, and that was that same, like, just depth of complexity that I just feed off of so much. So I just wanted to say that it's out there, you know. I see
All
dead
right. Well,
people.
you brought up the intensity of the jam. It made me think of my poll that I put out on Green Eggs and Fam yesterday.
Yeah.
Since we're about halfway through the year, I said, let's check in on Jam of the Year. It's been pretty interesting. I don't know if you got a chance to peek at that yet.
Well,
But
let me tell you, I'm always fascinated at people that put out polls because I have never been able to figure it out.
it's one of my favorite things to do. Oh, wow, man. It's like I love running polls more. Like when I was in Twitter, I was like the poll guy. Like that was my thing.
So yeah, let's talk about that Jam of the Year. So you challenged me really hard without knowing it because you put Oxford, a song from the Oxford, Mississippi show on there, and the Buffalo Today and Tomorrow, which literally had me like that meme with the two red buttons, you know. I'm like, and I feel like a superhero. I don't know what to do. Spider-Man, Superman, what do I do? You know. And I picked that Today and Tomorrow from Buffalo because that's the one that makes me cry. So
yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, for starters, I was not the one that even added Oxford. So I started everyone out with the Fairfield Northern Lights, the Buffalo Today and Tomorrow, and the Cleveland Portable Air Scrubber, all within like a week of each other. I mean, that's we talked about that week a little bit before. But, even I at first was like, I don't know which button I'm actually going to push. Is it going to be the Northern Lights from Fairfield, or is it going to be the Portable Air Scrubber from Cleveland? Because that's what's been filling my brain. And the first comment that we got, I can't remember who it was from, but he said the conversation starts and ends with the Oxford one-stop shop. And I said, okay. I said, my reply to him was that truth of the matter is that was my whole list until Fairfield happened. Like there wasn't a whole lot that had gotten me so excited like that Oxford one-stop shop until Fairfield and that whole week that followed. So he goes, okay. He goes, on your say so, I'm going to go back and I'm going to dig in and see, make sure that I'm not missing anything there. So he sends me he sends comments in a couple minutes later. He says, okay, I'm 7 minutes to the end of this Northern Lights still, but this is fucking amazing, basically. He's like, this is like, I see now why this is going to be a tougher poll than you would think. Well, right now we've got 31 votes in, and the Fairfield Northern Lights has 13 of them. So that's a whopping 41%. And to tell you the truth, when you end up having 8 different options to pick from, that makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, it's going to dilute, right? So yeah, it definitely does make it more prevalent, more prominent.
So, I'm hoping this will keep going and people will keep adding their votes to it. But, I thought it would be interesting just to kind of point out that Fairfield is really putting everything else far behind it. With the 13 votes, you have your Buffalo Today and Tomorrow has 4. Cleveland Portable Air Scrubber has 5. And someone added the Ardmore Finding and Losing, which was a good ad. I had, it's hard to remember all the best sometimes. And it's the ones that the people were at, they'll remind you, because when you're there, you get that little extra attendance bias. But your Oxford One-Stop Shop was the first song added that I did not include in the first 3. The Boulder Boomer Bust. Boulder Boomer Bust. That's fun to say.
I remember that.
Say that 5 times fast. Boulder Boomer Bust. Well, we're going to get to you, too, because you were at all of these, so you really can have a say. The Treehouse Brewing someone threw that one on there. That's so far back, I can't even remember. And for you got to go with the Fairfield over anything, I would think.
Yeah, I wouldn't add. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Toronto Jam was added. That's a great call, but some of us know that was Smile, the end of Smile. But that was another. And then the Burlington Sweat Equity, which off the top of my head, I can't really say much about, but I'll have to go back and listen to it and see where it falls. But that's not a bad list. I mean, if you just put those 8 songs on a playlist and hit go, you're going to have a hell of a time anyway. So
yeah, but that's a whole day, those 8 songs, right? Like, I mean, that Today and Tomorrow
with the Buffalo Today or Tomorrow being 3/4 of an hour, someone said that they would also mention the U from Fairfield, which was Northern Lights ended the first set, U started the second set, and I felt like the U was almost just a continuation of the absolutely magical place that they went during, the Northern Lights. It was just a set break in the middle. That's all. But you really can't go wrong with many of those picks, so that's the good thing about this band.
Definitely not. I'd be curious to know what people think about what is like this is kind of an arbitrary question, but what's the ideal length of an Eggy song? What's your what's your sweet spot jam wise? You know, because like a 45-minute song to me is like listening to a classical music, like a Beethoven fucking symphony thing. You know, you got to hear the whole thing to really get it, you know? And so those opus length jams to me, they take me to a place because they're long enough that I can get inside my head and inside the jam like at the same time, you know? Does that make sense? And sometimes like a 12-minute or a 20-minute jam, it's just not long enough for me to reach that point of solitude and like oneness with the idea, you know? And so I really like those long jams, for lack of a better term. It's their opuses, you know, they're you know, masterpiece level things when they're that long, you know, especially when there's spontaneity and creativity in it. That's not a rehearsed thing when you pull a 45-minute Today and Tomorrow out, you know.
You know, coming from with your Grateful Dead background that you have and the Fish background that I'm coming in with, it's a conversation that we're familiar with anyway. Fish really started to make a game out of it with us. There's some stories I could tell you that, you know, I know what actually led to the famous Tahoe tweezer. I know someone who spoke to Trey and said, do you know that the longest tweezer you ever played was such and such? And then next thing you know, they come out and they top it, you know. But I have always said, because I have that background, because I've been listening to long jams for so many years, my general mentality is the longer the better, but it also can't drag. You can't get repetitive. You can't, I mean, you just, they know, they have to know. And that was always a thing. Like, they have to know when it's time to cut the cord, you know, and go on to the next thing.
But they don't repeat, which is what attracted me. So what got me so attracted to Eggy right away was that other bands out there hit a crescendo and they stay there. And they just kind of loop that crescendo over and over for way too long. 5 seconds is too long, right? Like 10 seconds is belaboring it. 20, 30 seconds is I'm bored now, right? Eggy they don't do that. Jake doesn't hang on any crescendo. He hits a high and goes on back down and goes to build to the next one. Never stays long enough to ever even make you raise an eyebrow, right? So it's just
you know, it's interesting because you're always there almost every show, front row, right there on the rail, so locked in with them that I think that's why you almost were in on the joke there. You know, you realize that was what they were doing, and I'm dealing with all these external factors going on that happen when you go to a show and you're not right there front row locked in like you are. There's a lot of people, a lot of commotion, and I hear the song end and then it's not over, and then I hear it end again and it's not over, and I was starting to wonder what they were doing. You know, and then you know, when we saw them in Cleveland the next day, you remember, and we were having pizza, and Jake was like, "Yeah, we want to know how long is too long," and I was kind of like, "I think it almost was last night, but I'm not sure." You know, but again, like I said, when I just sit here and I listen to that 45 minutes, there's not a flaw, there's not a thing, there's nothing wrong with it at all. So, you know, I can back your vote up at least.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And yeah, so I do kind of get like, so, you know, I'm at 70 shows now, my wife and I, and every one of them on the rail, every one of them, you know, at almost the entire show on the rail, or 90% of it. Last night I stayed up on the balcony quite a bit with my wife, but typically if it's an Eggy show, I'm down there. So yes, I have gotten to like be in the bubble almost, right? Like see the body language, see the little nuance between just a eyebrow that's raised and the next thing you know, they're changing, and you know, a foot motion. So just small little things that they do to like that will like let them know, you know, let the other person know. I love watching Jake looking at Mike, and Mike is just there with his head back and his eyes shut. And Jake is like trying to get his attention, so he has to do it through sonics instead of physicals, right? So he has to play a note, go twang or something like that to get Mike to go, oh yeah, you know. I don't know if any of that's really happening, but that's observed to me. Something I've kind of
If
observed.
you observe it,
And
it's happening.
probably, yeah, yeah. A reality is subjective, though. But yeah, yeah.
We had the magnets,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, your magnets, man. Everybody
Yep.
loves Bud's magnets. I
Hey.
don't want to say I never thought, but I mean, like when you kind of first were giving them out, I'm like, hey, these are neat. Next thing you know, they're on the merch table, and I was like, holy moly, that's really, really cool. I'm like, Bud's, they're selling his stuff. And you told me you're just giving them to them, which is absolutely fucking amazing, of course. And then, every time I'm at a show, one of the things that because back to what we were just saying, I did want to add one thing. There is a reason. Well, there's a couple reasons why I can't spend an entire show on the rail. So I'm very jealous that you are so locked in, that you're almost in on the band's inside jokes and body language. But I like to hang out by merch a lot too. And so I see people go absolutely nuts over your magnets. And every time people come by, I'm like, oh, I got to get one of those. That's so cool. I feel like so happy for you, so proud of you. I'm like, that's so cool. I'm like, Bud was probably just like for fun one day, like, hey, I'm going to make some Eggy shit on my 3D printer. And then next thing you know, you're like, I'm going to throw some magnets on it, throw it on my fridge. And then you're like, here. And then the next thing you know, they're like one of their hot items on the table every show I go to. So congratulations. How did you come up with that?
Thanks, man. So a friend of mine gave me a 3D printer, and I had really not much use for one. My former background is I was a 5-axis CNC programmer, and quality control and all that. So my pre-pandemic experience is all engineering type stuff. So I was printing like hooks to hang my hat on and some other dumb stuff, and I realized that if I could get that Eggy logo into a 3D file, that I could actually, make it into something, right? So I downloaded some software, some CAD modeling software, and I found another program that could convert the actual image into the right file extension so that I could make it into 3D, and the rest is history. Once I printed it, because what I was going for was I wanted a necklace. I wanted to print a big fucking Eggy logo, which you've seen around my neck, right? And so I ordered the gold, the gold colored filament and everything. And I did a few trial and errors so I could see how big I could get it and all that. And when I printed that one, I realized then that, hey, I could shrink these down and make a trinket, And so I shrunk it down to fit like 4 on a plate, and I printed them off. And then I realized, well, I can't. They're useless the way they are. They're just plastic flat things. But if I put a magnet on the back, bingo, I got a fridge magnet. So I ordered some magnets off Amazon, and then the next thing you know was trial and error with glue. I had to find the right glue that didn't get me so fucking high I couldn't remember what I was doing. And because you're right there over the thing, like gluing the magnet on, and so I got some good glue, and it sticks, and it's because we could get really technical about how all this came together, but basically I found the right glue, I got the 3D file, and now that thing's running. And yes, I haven't ever really disclosed this to anybody, but I do give them to the band for free. I want them to just be able to make as much money as they can to buy a new van was my actual motivation, right? So, hopefully they're doing something good with that money. I don't really care what they're doing with it, but hopefully it's it's helping their bottom line, right? It's certainly going to be the highest profit margin item on the merch table for them. So if you really want to help the band out, I imagine
100% profit, baby.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Got it.
And so I just have got together with another friend of mine, and we have a few more ideas for some things that are going to be coming out of that 3D printer that'll be very, very exciting, much more usable than a fridge magnet, something that you'll be able to touch and feel and see every day. So that's what I got on that. Stay tuned for more.
I love it.
So
yeah,
I think for a wrap, what's on my mind is just that I know we're both having a ton of fun doing this, and I think the people that are watching are actually enjoying it too. And so I just want to keep doing what we're doing, and we'll just keep sharing it, and people will tune in, right? So you out there watching, you know who you are, you and you and you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, if I can echo that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and you and you.
That's
for
right.
sure. You.
That's
Absolutely
right.
you.
Yeah.
Maybe not you so much, but all of the rest of you for sure.